Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Cubane series. We've done it, we're back. Oh, I feel so exposed without the lab coat on, I'll be honest. Ugh. Alright, no judgment please. Hello, so as always, this is our journey to make the cubic molecule Cubane from household materials and easily accessible items, I guess, from the hardware store, basically. It's been a few months since the last video. That wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to have a big break, but somehow the months went past. Whatever, we're ignoring the passing of time. We've run through all this synthesis. We made this molecule, the monoketone, and then we wanted to do a ring closure reaction. This was the last video, and we need to shine UV light onto this molecule to get it to do that ring closure reaction. And we know that the UV light needs to be in the range of 300 to 350 nanometers. Shout out to the CSIRO in Victoria, Australian chemistry, you know, thanks for your publications on this. And so in that last video, we got that UVB light, so in that 300 to 350 nanometer range, from a reptile lamp, the UVB bulb, and it didn't really seem to work. I have to think back because this was months ago, but at the end of that video, I said we're going to send off the sample for analysis, and I did that. First, what I did is I evaporated down that sample. I didn't use any heat, I just bubbled some air into the dichloromethane to try and strip it off. And it didn't just go yellow, it didn't just tar up, we got yellow tar out of that. So it was not a very good sign. So I sent it off for some NMR analysis. As you might expect from the tar, we got a big forest of peaks and it's a big mess of compounds, and it's not particularly, I think, what we want at all. Well, we don't want this, obviously, but we can't identify any of the peaks in there to be materials. Whether or not we never form the material, or maybe we did form the material and I destroyed it when I evaporated it down, I don't know, but we ended up with this yellow tar. We've got to really start again this step and do it better. It is worth noting, however, with the NMR analysis that I sent off, I also sent off some starting material. We hadn't had a look at this one yet. It was perfect. Just, once again, we've managed to do something over 99% purity in the garage here. We still have half a gram of 99% purity monoketone, and we've just got to get to, you know, do this cyclization photochemistry reaction just a little bit better, I think. I think we're close. Even though we ended up with yellow tar, I feel like we're close. I feel like it. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but that's what I feel like. We need to make 3 improvements in this video, which cover pretty much everything. We need to fix the light source, we've got to fix the sample container, the vessel we put the stuff in, and we've got to fix the TLC. We've got to improve all of those things, and then I think we've got a chance of actually completing this step better. So light source, I said before that I was using the reptile lamp, which I got to say was not really that popular in the comment section. People wanted me to use LEDs or a high-powered mercury lamp or something like that, and I really wanted to use a reptile lamp because it's funny. I just want to use a reptile lamp because it sort of fits the theme of the series, in the sense that if I buy a photochemistry industrial mercury lamp, it's not like a hardware store thing. Maybe you can get them from a hardware store, but and I haven't really easily been able to find some good LEDs in that 300 to 350 nanometer range. Most UV LEDs are at 365 and 395. I do actually have some UV LEDs at university in the range. I obviously can't bring them here, but I thought I'd show them off anyway because people keep asking about them in the comments, so I'll show them now very briefly. But yeah, we do get reasonable light out in the right range from these bulbs and not a whole lot of heat. There's not a whole lot of IR coming out of these lamps. In this video, I'm going to do something that's even more unpopular. Instead of using one lamp, what about 2 reptile lamps? Yeah, you I think that'll be good, all right? And with 2 lamps, we can have 2 reflectors. Like a lot of people suggested they wanted like a mirror or a parabolic mirror to kind of focus in the light. But if we have 2 reflectors opposite each other, then the light should, you know, be good, right? It should bounce around in there and... right? Now onto the glass. I was using this test tube last time. Still looks a bit dirty, but I'm not sure why I chose this one. I don't think it was a very wise choice. It's quite thick glass, and glass like this would absorb quite a lot of UV light in that range, so I think it was blocking a lot of the light from getting to our solution. Ideally, I'd be able to do something in quartz or something. I shouldn't need quartz in this range, but using really thick borosilicate glass, like a lot of people pointed out, was a bit of a stupid move. So instead, I'm going to use something like this. This is a vial. It's got thin walls, right? They're not super thin, but they're at least a lot thinner than what we're using before. If they're half as thin, they're going to let through quite a lot more UV light. Once again, it would be better if I had quartz, but I can't find something that's quartz that I can seal for cheap, let's say. I'm sure I can get stuff, but I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on a reaction vial for this project because that kind of feels like it defeats the purpose, although I'd probably spend that much just on getting reptile lamps and reflectors, so I don't really know anymore. Lastly, TLC. I'm not really making a secret of the fact that I'm not really enjoying this TLC section of the videos, but we can do better. I think people have suggested other stains we can try. I've also got a UV light. You say, well, bloody hell, Tom, you've got UV lights already. Why didn't you just use them? Well, no, it's a proper mercury lamp, or it's like a quartz tube mercury lamp thing here. You say, well, there's a quartz tube, but yes, it's open at both ends. I take this apart and I can't seal it. Anyway, point being, this puts out 254 nanometers, so it's too short for our photochemistry reaction, but it allows us to visualize the TLC plate, so we can see on the plate where the dots are without having to do a stain. So if our stain doesn't show up our spot, we can use the light. Well, we just use the light first to see that if the spots show up. Being optimistic, I think they will, so maybe the UV torch will be better than the stain to actually see our final product spot if we actually make some. There's a lot of improvements. We've got a lot of chemistry to do, a lot of photochemistry to run once again, so let's get into it. So this series I've been getting everything from the hardware store, and I've been getting my dichloromethane from this paint stripper, 870 grams per litre dichloromethane, in this sort of goopy mess with methanol. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of doing the dichloromethane distillation. I just went out and bought some from a chemical supply company. This was nearly, I think, actually, including shipping, I think it was over $100 for this 1 litre of dichloromethane, which has a label, but I'm not showing that because they're not sponsoring me, and I'm not sure they want to be on a home chemistry channel. So, yes, I think most people would rather me actually finish this series rather than spending my time just doing the same thing, which I've already done before, which is incredibly boring, both to view and to do. So this is a UV sensor, so apparently it changes a different color if it gets UVB light on it, so you can use it to sense whether it's appropriate levels for your lizard. So we'll put it under the light for 10 seconds. Ah, look, it's already going a different color. Yeah, it's purple. Right, so we're getting quite a lot of UVB. So now we've got the UV sensor and we've got that glass in front of it. This is the tube we used last time. So we'll chuck this on. Obviously, if the glass is completely transparent to the UV, we should see no difference where the glass is blocking the light and where it isn't. Yeah, you can see a line there. Alright, so now for a comparison between the vial and the test tube which we used last time. So hopefully there's less of a noticeable difference with the vial. We'll chuck it on. Yeah, you can see that line there where the first tube was, but there's not really a difference with the head across here. Yeah, that's showing what I want it to. Don't know if it's confirmation bias, but thanks Lizard Card, thanks Reptile Lamp. Alright, so we've got the second lamp and reflector, and if I wanted to make this symmetrical, I guess I'd put this other one in here. I do feel like it would be cool if we could put this closer and like really concentrate the light. It's tempting even just to like do that and then put the sample in there, but probably get way too hot in there. So I reckon if I put it somewhere like here, and I might have to do some cooling, like a fan, and I'll just, you know, blow some air across here. That seems about right. It's good airflow. Obviously I'll cut some holes in both sides so we get some airflow from outside the box. We're not just recirculating the hot air. Put this one on, and then this one on. This is good. There's a lot of bricks in there, but I'll just cover the bricks in aluminium foil and it'll look like it's part of it. Oh yeah, space age bricks. That's space agey. Fuck, I've had too much coffee. Look, I'm like vibrating. Glad I'm not trying to do surgery or careful alignment right now. And as per always, my work with a power tool I describe as adequate, but barely. It's never a nice job. But look, I drew myself some guidelines and then didn't follow them in the slightest, really. So, but yeah, look, it runs. Got some air inlets, air outlets. I feel that air coming out. Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. It could definitely be worse. I'd hate to think how it could be worse, but here we are. Alright, so here we have some dichloromethane. It's just plain dichloromethane. I want to see, once again, if it heats up too much, or we have some leaking out of these vials. We've got some Teflon tape underneath the lid, got some electrical tape on the outside of the lid, and we're just going to wrap the lid in some aluminium foil so this plastic, or whatever material it is, doesn't get too embrittled by the intense UV light. That's probably overthinking it, but you know, that's what this channel is all about. I will do that better. I can't do that one-handed. Alright, you can see that solvent line is there, so we're going to see if this drops or the whole thing blows up or something. I don't know. Let's go. Okay, so fans on. Light 1. Light 2. Let it go. Alright. Godspeed. Alright, it's been close to an hour and a half. Let's have a look. What's in here? What's going on? Fan's still running. Doesn't look like it's exploded. It's a bit warm. I haven't lost too much solvent. It's 30 odd degrees. It's hot, but I mean it's like 30 degrees everywhere at the moment because that's like the room temperature. So I probably can run for an hour or two. Hey, you know, the solvent level hasn't gone down. Haven't really had any leaks, so it's fine. So one of the problems with the TLC in the last video, choice of TLC solvent. So we were just using straight dichloromethane as the elutant solvent in the jar, which the elutant solvent is what drags spots, materials up the plate. A lot of people are talking about hexanes and you know, hexane mixtures. I don't have hexanes. I could, you know, distill some petrol down, etc. I've done that before. It's a bit of work. So I had a different suggestion. Someone, well, I think a few people maybe, suggested this. I just got this recently. It's Shellite, which is just a brand name. It says it's 100% hydrocarbon liquid. So I'm pretty sure this is just a light petroleum, like a petroleum naphtha. Is that what people call it? Apparently, this might work as a good TLC solvent. We'll have to see. Let's try it out. So I'll just grab some of our starting material, which is the monoketau, and we'll spot that onto the plate. Also check with our UV light if we can see the spots as well as they're developing. So I'll just dissolve up some of our starting material in some dichloromethane, spot them onto the plate, run it with the Shellite as the TLC solvent. Okay, it appears our spots have not moved. You can see those two spots at the bottom. Unless they're not just showing up under the UV light, but let's give it a stain and see if we can see any more dots. But it looks like they're at the bottom there. Here we go, you can see our dots didn't move at all. They're both still on the baseline there, and we've got no other dots. And we know our compound is pure from the NMR analysis, so yes. Maybe people suggested other solvents. I can't remember, maybe it was a mix of Shellite and something else. Maybe I'm misremembering. We want higher polarity stuff. I'm gonna go see if I can find what people said. Let's go troll some comments. Or was it on Discord or Twitter, or was it in the subreddit? Let's go troll the internet. It was 5 to 10% acetone in Shellite. That was the suggestion, which makes a whole lot more sense. I like this because it's like just two hardware store solvents. They're basically next to each other on the shelf. We can control the polarity level with our level of acetone. That's good. Okay, let's make a 10% acetone, I guess by mass, solution in the jar. Let's try that. Hey, look at that. We moved them up. So they're now like a third of the way in 10% acetone. Let's go more acetone. So maybe 25% acetone. And while we're there as well, turn this off. We might as well, because we've been using all these TLC plates, might as well run a TLC of this horrible yellow tar, which was our end product from last time. Just see if we see any other spots as well under the UV. Alright, yep, and okay, 25% acetones, move them about halfway. That seems okay. Quite great, actually. Although, what isn't showing up is, because I've got the starting material and then two final product lines, with the yellow tar lines, where you can see one dot showing up in each of those lines, which is probably the starting material. Well, it looks like the starting material. So I guess you can't see the other spots, the other compounds under the UV light, so I guess they're not UV active. So let's stain it and see if we can see the spots that way. But that would be a bit depressing if that's the case. Nothing, really. So maybe we need a different stain. Maybe. Oh well, at least we've got a better solvent now. So I suppose it's time to finally actually get our product out, put it in the dichloromethane, and then put it in front of the lamp. I think we only have half a gram left. It doesn't even look like half a gram, but I'm going to be very conservative now, because I know this is good, so I kind of want to keep some, I guess, for future reference. So let's go 0.2 grams. Okay, so we've done 3.5 hours and nothing is showing up underneath the torch here. Well, our starting material is showing up. The first line is a starting line. There's a bit of smear, but it's probably just over concentrated. There's a co-spot in the middle and the final product spot. So you can see that starting material is still there in each of them. So there is another possibility here that we are making the product, but we're just not seeing it with the UV torch, and we're not seeing it with the stain, the permanganate stain. I don't think it's very likely, but it is something that does come up in the comments a lot. I think people are thinking that maybe it won't absorb the UV, our final product, the cage molecule won't absorb the UV and won't show up on the permanganate stain. So the suggestion was to use an iodine chamber. It's just a different way of developing the spots, maybe more sensitive to our target final compound. I think I have some iodine lying around. I'm not entirely certain any of my iodine is any good. We've got this one from 2015, which I'm pretty sure is shot. I've stored this in a plastic container, and while it smells like iodine, I don't think there's anything in there. Iodine doesn't store that well, especially in plastic. I don't know why I thought, I mean, it's 2015. You know, if anyone's going to make mistakes, it's me in 2015. All that iodine is absorbed into the plastic. I'm going to throw that out. This one, a little bit more promising, because it looks like it's in some glass, and it's from 2017, November 2017. So, you know, only a few years ago. Problem is, it's pulled a vacuum on this jar, and I can't open it. So I'm going to have to really try and force my way into this jar. There's some staining on this tissue here, so that's not a good sign. But let's see if we can crack into this. Oh, man. Fuck me. Oh. That is embarrassing. I Can't open a jar on my fucking YouTube channel. It looks like shit anyway because it's all liquid. I must have not have dried off the iodine before storing it, but don't know why I did that. Don't know why the jar has sealed itself. I did find some more iodine. I thought I had some lying around. This ampule here, this is beautiful stuff. Beautiful. Look at this. Lovely. It's in this big jar with some bromine. Look how much bromine I've still got. Fuck yeah. I obviously made that, but I forget things. I forget things. So, you know, that'll be useful when we have to redo this Cubane synthesis. We need more bromine for the tribromination step. So it's good we got bromine to go back and redo that. But crack open this beautiful ampule that stored this really well. It always feels a little bit of a shame to crack open an ampule that I've made. But got to do it. That's the point of it. That's the point of them. Okay, so the iodine does work. Wow, it fades very quickly. But, oh god, in the 2 minutes it took me to work out how to do filming, all the dots are faded. But we did develop the dots here, as we'd expect them to, as we saw from the UV light. And we did get another row of dots. Yeah, a third way up, and then 2/3 is sort of our starting material dot. But the spot was in all three lanes, so it's just looks like a small contaminant, very small contaminant from our starting material. I mean, it could be the final product, and you know, we're forming a small amount of the final product in the starting material just because it's ambiently getting exposed to UV. But I think that's a bit too much wishful thinking. So here's a TLC plate after what, 5.5 hours? Yeah, so each of those lanes is a 5.5 hours. It's just at different concentrations, and if I get the reflections right, you see there's two spots in there. So the top dot is our starting material, and we know that just because we've run previous TLCs, and that's where the top dot runs with this particular solvent ratio. But we had that dot about a third of the way up, which is interesting because it doesn't show up under the UV light or the permanganate stain. Well, actually maybe I'll take this plate out and run it in the permanganate stain. It might not be very good going from iodine stain to permanganate stain because the iodine stain might not make the permanganate stain then work. But I have a feeling that that spot doesn't show up. If that's the case, that might well be our final product. And that same plate with the permanganate stain doesn't really show up that spot line, which is very interesting. It wasn't really what I was expecting. But, you know, well done to the people in the comments that thought that might have been the case, that, you know, doesn't show up on the permanganate stain and will show up on the iodine stain. So I think maybe as I was drying this plate out, you could faintly see the dots, but it was only because I knew what I was looking for because of the iodine stain. So I knew where they were supposed to be because of the iodine stain. From now on, let's leave the permanganate stain aside and just go with the iodine stain from now on. Oh, I'm so excited. This is textbook stuff. Hold on, as long as it hasn't faded already. Yeah, it's fading, but it's fantastic. So we have our starting material dot here, no dot here. With our co-spot, we have a dot there and there. And with our final product, we have a small dot here with the starting material and then our final product dot. Fantastic. So everything appears to be working well. I can only assume that this is the final product we actually want, not just some sort of tar formation. Gosh, that fades fast. It's separating nicely on the TLC. We can actually see it under the iodine stain. You know, we can't really see it too well. See it a little bit. I think it's just because the iodine stain has brought that out. So it does appear to be working. Everything appears to be working. Just slow. You might be able to see even from a distance. Our solution looks a little different. Say the line, goddamn yellow chemistry. It's had 8.5 hours under the lamp. It's only had an hour today, and why it's gone yellow is actually because I left it for a week. So I had the 7.5 hours, and then it sat here for a week, and then when I got back after the week, it was yellow. So actually, just having it sitting around doesn't seem like it's very good for it. I don't think that will come as a surprise to many of you if you let just things sit around in solutions all the time, they just go yellow. But I mean, it is interesting. What's going on? Why is it going yellow? Because if you remember our previous stuff, looks like this, you know, it got pretty yellow. Where is that impurity, right? Like, what is that impurity, and why didn't we see it when we ran TLC earlier? Well, now we have the iodine chamber. Let's have a look in there. All right, can we see in there with the camera? All right, so we've got 3 lanes. We've got our starting material, our yellow solution, which is our current end product, I guess, and then the previous end product. So they're both yellow, and the same thing has gone wrong with them, I guess. I'm assuming the yellow is wrong. The yellow is always wrong. We've got 2 dots in that first column, which is a mystery unto itself. So there's that middle dot there, and then there's a dot higher up. I think the shadows are obscuring it. So that's about there, that dot, right? We know the top dot is the starting material. What's that second dot? Well, we think the second dot is the product. So where's the yellow then? That's an interesting point. But if we look even closer, we see on the starting line, no dot at all in the starting material, and then dots here in our new final product and previous final product. That implies to me that this yellow compound is in fact a very, very polar, well, it doesn't have to be very, very polar, but like a polar compound that's just not moving on the plate. I still think it's a photo-oxidation product. It looks like it's just reacting with the air over time, which sucks because it's pretty dang yellow. It really does look like we're competing with the the yellowing. I should put some more electrical tape on that. I forgot to put that back on. Why is the product showing up in our starting material? It shows up sometimes, it doesn't show up other times. I'm starting to have a conspiracy about it that it's genuinely making it like on the plate from ambient UV exposure. It could be just contamination, or even there could be final product in our starting material now because it's been 6 months and sitting around. I mean, it has been in darkness. We've done the analysis, we know it's 99%. The second dot only shows up sometimes. So I could use a TLC plate and run it in complete darkness and see if it has a spot, and then run another one and run it in the sunlight and see if the spot's there to prove it. Spot there in some sunlight. All right, you ready? It's the worst possible option. You can see that dot in the first lane where it's just solvent. That dot is just from the solvent before we even dissolve any solid into it. How is it getting there? That's unfucking believable. It's very faint though. Look, hey, I got 2 bottles. I actually got 2 bottles of solvent, and I'm mad enough at this that I'm going to crack open the completely unopened bottle and run this, just in case I've somehow fucking got contaminant into the bottle of DCM. Somehow. Fuck knows how. Okay, and here we are, and we've got 1 solitary dot. So the first lane, which is quite far to the left, is solvent directly out of the bottle, and then the next lane, which is sort of in the middle there, is solvent that I took out of the bottle, put into one of these Eppendorfs, clean Eppendorfs. You know, they're past their expiry date, but they were sterile, packaged, open it up, put the solvent in, mix the solvent around, and then spot it with the same spotter I used on the first lane onto the plate, and there's a goddamn dot. There's the goddamn 1 spot. So nothing in the first lane as you expect. Purity's not in the solvent. What I thought was the final product is a fucking impurity from the Eppendorf certified purity grade. That's nonsense. Is nonsense the right word? Defeating. It's not quite defeating. Catastrophic. I don't know where the fuck this leaves us. I mean, the stuff's been running in the box for 15 hours now. And the only spot we're getting, apart from the fucking starting material, is from the Eppendorf tube. What? This is some fucked up nonsense, honestly. A lot of fucked up things happen on this channel, but this is potentially top of the list. I think I'm done for the day. That's... What more can I do? What more can I do? Think positive thoughts. Think positive thoughts. Let's get this off. Let's have a look. Positive thinking, positive... I think positive thinking is going to be enough here. Yes, and after the 18 hours, I think a little over 18 hours, we're left with this dehydrated piss colour. There's even some tar residue on the bottom. You know, this was a perfectly clear solution to start with. I'll run one more TLC just to be sure nothing new is showing up and maybe our final product, our desired final product, is showing up. I'm expecting just to see the starting material and the dot along the baseline, which is some very oxygenated, oxidized species. Here is our plate. Both of these lanes are the yellow solution spotted directly onto the plate, not via an Eppendorf and dilution, so there's no contaminant in here from the Eppendorf. Holy shit. There's a little bit of streaking for the more concentrated one, but it's developed a little better. You've got starting material dot, nothing, tar dot, and we don't really see too much on that other lane, because I guess I didn't spot too much on there, and the dots are fading. But point being, there's nothing but tar and starting material, and I guess being so yellow from all the tar, there's not going to be a lot of UV penetration through that solution, so I think our efficiency's, you know, gone off a cliff. This is probably a brick wall to UV now. Given how yellow it is, that means it's absorbing blue, which means definitely, basically, it's absorbing UV. So if it's really strongly absorbing that UV from the yellow tar, then the UV is not going to get to starting material. There's no point running this further. It's just not going to fucking work as it is now. So we've once again reached the end of a video without having actually made our final product. So once again, I'm asking for help from you. What do you think we need to do to improve this in the comments? Are people going to slander the reptile lamps? I feel like we've got a new enemy to defeat, and that's the air. We just got to defeat the air, and I think that's our hurdle to get across. Oxygen is getting in while it's in the solvent there and making it go yellow and turn into something that isn't our product. And I guess it's very easy to say, especially in hindsight. You say, of course, oxygen is going to be a factor. I mean, so many reactions are published where they run under nitrogen or argon, and it just doesn't really need to be. Maybe get an extra couple % yield if you run out of nitrogen, but it's so much effort for me to be able to do that we have to try, you know, the lowest denominator first. We have to see what the minimum amount of effort we have to put into these reactions are to get it to work, right? You know what, I'm not sure I'm getting this point across very well. I have a cylinder of argon, in fact. Oh, I'm not strong. Look, it's argon, and I should chain it up somewhere. Especially where we bubbled air through the dichloromethane to strip the dichloromethane off. That seems like the stupidest idea. And if we're going to do something like that again, we'll use pure argon to strip the solvent off. Also, I'm coming to the conclusion that I have to be able to do this all in one day. This 15, 20 hours has been spread across, you know, 6, 7 different days across 4 weeks. Just trying to fit around my schedule, but it's not working like that. I think it needs to be 15 hours, like in a block. So assuming I run it in the time block and under argon, can you see it working like this? We also don't have that much material left. I think I've got 0.2 grams left. We've only really got one more shot at this before I then have to go back and start doing some stuff again. So I want to make the next shot count. We will keep the series going. Sorry for the long breaks in between, but we're going to keep this series going until we get to the end, whether you like it or not. We're going to do it, guys. It's just a matter of time and whether I die of old age first. That's the real competition.
And the lid is thoroughly stuck to the jar. So, I have a blowtorch here. Right where it's contacting the seal. Easy.